I mean,
that's what Ricky Gervais was joking about last night.
Did you watch
of course
that?
He was.
Hilarious.
Of course he was. No, but I did see the one clip that somebody put on the internet about him saying, "Don't virtue signal. Just come out here and get your little prize. Go off because nobody cares about your opinion." I was like, "Thank you, Ricky. Thank you."
So I was slumping on the couch after a long day at the beach. I had a beer in one hand while I picked away at a bag of smoky barbecue peanuts, and as I scrolled through Netflix, I came across Ricky Gervais's latest special called Armageddon, which had just dropped over Christmas. You could not wipe the smile off my sunburnt face. Ricky D is one of my all-time favourite comedians, and as my regulars all know, a good comedy special is hard to come by these days. But my smile wouldn't last long. Within a few minutes it had all but disappeared, and then 10 minutes in, I wanted to turn the whole thing off. How did this happen? How did my fourth favourite comedian of all time end up disappointing me to the point where I barely recognised him? Hell, I put this guy above Louis C.K. I put him above our boy Patrice O'Neill. I felt betrayed. I felt stupid. I felt like I'd just met my hero.
I always considered stand-up as my sort of second or third job, and I thought of myself as a writer-director, and TV shows and films sort of came first. You can't put a tour on and then change your mind because tickets have been sold. You have to know you're not doing something for a long time.
So Ricky's done everything from being in a pop band during the 80s to working in radio. He's done multiple award-winning TV shows, Hollywood movies, podcasts, you name it. He's even hosted award shows a bunch of times.
When you do it all yourself, if you write and direct it, 3 hours of TV, which is what I do for a series, that takes me a year, So The Office, Extras, Derek, Idiot Abroad, which are all 2 series and a special, is 3 years' work, and you can't really interrupt that. So it was just that it got second place.
And apparently all of that seemed more important to him than what I'd grown to love him for, his stand-up comedy specials.
Now, when I'm at home, I watch hours and hours of Discovery Channel and History Channel. Hours, Discovery Channel, History Channel. Ask me anything about sharks and noses. They're not as bad as a lot of people make out. Sharks, I mean. Noses, awful. Right? Sharks, brilliant. Amazing creature, okay? It can hone in on a floundering fish, right? Through the vibrations that it picks up through electrical impulses, through sensors in its flank. But it can smell and taste the slightest human secretion of blood and sweat, 1 part in a billion from a mile away. A shark would have found Anne Frank like that. No, it's rubbish. I've been to her house. It's tiny. Every day they went in. Okay, let's move on. Sarge, can we look upstairs today? No, there's no one down here. Move on. Sarge, what's that tapping? She had time to write a book, for Christ's sake. Well, it ends a bit abruptly and no sequel. Lazy. No, but...
Ricky Gervais has this incredible talent for creativity. When I think about some of my other favourite comedians like Louis C.K., Patrice O'Neill, Richard Pryor, just to name a few, they all had this uncanny ability to create conversations with themselves on stage and take your imagination on a journey. All they were doing was just standing there speaking into a mic. And it's that creative unpredictability that drew me into Ricky's stand-up. Even though I wouldn't necessarily call his comedy clean, at times he's far from it, I'll come back to that in a moment, but he never really used to rely on profanity to be funny. Take a look at this, for example. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ricky studied philosophy at university and graduated with honours. There's an intelligent guy in there hiding behind his short, fat and ugly exterior. And so he has this bit about how Adolf was influenced by famous German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who supposedly did influence him, but also died when Adolf was 11 years old. They clearly could never have met in a meaningful way, not to mention that Nietzsche was clinically insane for the last 10 years of his life. But just take a look at how Ricky creates the dialogue between these two historical figures that is just so original, creative, and unpredictable that you really feel like you're in on this inside joke that he's telling out loud. Throw in one of the worst atrocities in modern history, and you've got a perfectly offensive, highbrow yet accessible joke.
No, but people make excuses for him. People say, oh, he was stupid, he was easily led, he didn't mean that. What do you mean he didn't mean that? They say, oh no, he was influenced by the political philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, right? Because Nietzsche wrote this paper talking about a Superman. He said, not all men are born equal. And Hitler misinterpreted this and went way too far with it. And think of that. You're a great scholar, you've done this work, and you get a call from the Führer. And the Führer goes, all right, Nietzsche. He goes, yeah, good, what do you want? He goes, just read your book. What do you think? Love it. Love all that, man and Superman, not everyone's equal, kill all the Jews. Sorry? Not everyone's equal, so kill all the Jews. I didn't like that. I read between the lines. I didn't mean that. That's terrible. You haven't been killing Jewish people, have you? What? Have you been killing Jewish people? Yeah. A little bit. A few. How many? 6 million. 6 million? That's all. I won't do any more. Leave it at 6. That's terrible. I won't do any more. Stay for dinner? Well, I will, but be careful in future. I will. Are you writing any other books? Well, I am, but I'm scared to tell you about it.
And so Gervais became known for this risky style of stand-up comedy where he would take these historical events and historical figures and create these random dialogues and streams of consciousness that helped us to laugh out loud at these heavily protected taboos that previously just hadn't been explored in this kind of way. And for the most part, he would get away with it. He was this small, pudgy-looking man who looked like he couldn't hurt a fly. He was clearly being ironic and satirical, even dark at times, so people jumped on board to hear him say the quiet bit out loud.
Relax, I know what I'm doing. It's the accent, isn't it? And I'm not very good at accents either. I'm trying to do Nelson Mandela. So I'll give it a bit of dignity. He's sort of high, isn't he? He says things like, Winnie, what are you burying in the garden? It's not racist, it's fine, it's not. It's an impression. People are very worried about that, aren't they? They go, is that racist? Can you say that? Well, we're taken the wrong way, particularly this year, because it's 200 years since the abolition of slavery, so awareness is heightened. But that wasn't the end of racism, it was still inherent in society as late as the 50s and 60s in England and America, and one incident sparked off the civil rights movement. A black woman called Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white person on a bus. It was the law, but she'd had enough, and she was arrested. But then that law was changed. But she didn't stop there. She started sitting in those seats meant for disabled people. Unbelievable. Isn't it? She talked to the driver when the bus was in motion. Did she always have the correct change ready? Did she, bucks? What was her problem?
But Ricky's public profile really blew up from his now syndicated TV show, The Office, which was so successful that it made its way across the pond and fell into Steve Carell's lap, who turned it into a successful American TV show as well. Ricky himself credits his winning the Golden Globe in 2004 as his gateway into the US. Now he was doing deals with HBO for his comedy specials, writing and directing and producing TV shows and movies. He's won 7 BAFTA Awards, 5 British Comedy Awards, 2 Emmy Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and the Rose d'Or twice. Now he's sitting on a net worth close to $200 million. Not bad for a philosophy graduate, huh? But it was his edgy, cheeky style of humour that got the attention of the Golden Globes, which saw him host the award show 5 times in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2016, and finally in 2020.
Thank God. That guy swings. He's out there swinging from the hip, chin up, doesn't give a telling it like it is. I love it.
Also not nominated, I Love You, Philip Morris, Jim Carrey and Ewan McGregor, two heterosexual actors pretending to be gay. So the complete opposite of some famous Scientologists then. What? Probably. My lawyers helped me with the wording of that joke.
So those are all pre-written, right? Because they had to have those cuts ready to go.
I don't know, man.
Maybe he
He's
just
so
went for
badass. He might be able to do whatever the he wants. You know, he's Ricky Gervais. He's got the ability to probably say, "Oh, I'll do it, but I'll do it this way, and only this way." And they're like, "Okay, Ricky, we love you. We love you. We know you wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our amazing organization, and we all love working with you here at the Golden Globes. And it's fun. I mean, you stir people up, and everybody knows you're a good guy." And then he goes and hits him with genocide talk and shit. Like, hey! Apple must have been so pissed. We were just getting away with using all that slave labor, and nobody even noticed.
Talking of The Walking Dead, congratulations to Hugh Hefner, who's getting married at the age of 84 to 24-year-old beauty Crystal Harris. When she was asked why she was marrying him, she said because he lied about his age. He told me he was 94. Oh, come on. Don't worry. Hold out and just don't look at it when you touch it. That's that. I warned him.
Gervais ended his monologue by telling the nominees, "So if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a political platform to make a political speech. You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So if you win, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and f*** off, okay?"
Our first presenter is beautiful, talented, and Jewish, apparently. Mel Gibson told me that. He's obsessed. Please welcome Scarlett Johansson.
By far his best appearance at the Golden Globes was his monologue at the 2020 award show, which would be his last, where he absolutely roasted all of the Hollywood elites like we've never seen before. I mean, he literally stood there on stage, looked them all in the eyes, and took them down over 3 hours, saying the things we've all been thinking over the years, and man, I loved every minute of it. But don't be mistaken, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was capitalizing on his public image as the comedian who has no boundaries, the man who cannot be silenced, the Hollywood outsider who keeps getting invited into the dress circle. He was the ordinary man in a suit that we could all relate to. And this is where it all started to go downhill for Ricky Gervais. He realized in those moments that being controversial was more important than just being funny. That's where we lost our Ricky. Instead of the creative comedy genius that I'd come to love, he became a rage-baiting attention seeker with dollar signs in his eyes. After 8 years in the Hollywood wilderness, he finally returned to stand-up comedy with his 2018 special Humanity, followed by Supernature in 2022, and his most recent release, Armageddon, which only just dropped over Christmas.
But now, I don't know why, but it's number one on my list. Now I could give up TV and film to just do stand-up because I love it more than ever. I don't know why. I realise what a privilege it is. It's sort of the last bastion of self-censorship outside the novel. You know, what you say is what they hear. There's no one interfering. It's a good time. It's a really good time for stand-up.
This newfound obsession with free speech. We've seen Dave Chappelle fall victim to it, Bill Burr, even Louis C.K. to an extent. They're fighting for the right to joke about anything, anytime, anywhere, without fear of cancellation or public retaliation. And look, for the most part, I agree with these guys. During the pandemic, we saw free speech become tangled in a web of conspiracy and government overreach, which saw the rise of the free speech comedians on social media, who somehow became the last bastion of free thinking and reasoning. But when free speech and censorship became the subject of the comedy special itself, Well, the whole thing just falls apart, and that's exactly what happened with Ricky's recent Armageddon special. It felt like a live podcast, not stand-up comedy. He looked tired and laboured, overworked. He just seemed over it. I didn't feel his depth of experience come out. He had this weird drama teacher vibe, like he was trying to be edgy to a younger crowd. It also sounded like they were using a laugh track too. There were no trailing or sporadic laughs here and there. It just felt super controlled like a TV sitcom. And there were no shots of the audience. It seriously felt like they recorded it in some school auditorium and added in a laugh track. I don't know, I think that's a thing with specials nowadays, everyone's doing it. But in terms of the actual content of the special, the whole thing was structured around Ricky pretending to be woke, and how he was keeping up with the times, but still being cheeky and edgy. At one point, after he made a joke about the N-word, he turned to the audience and said, "That was the one, wasn't it?" As if to imply that joke would be the one that finally got him cancelled. I am so sick and tired of comedians pretending like they've been cancelled and then dropping a Netflix special 2 weeks later. It's all just so overdone and boring now. And remember those perfectly crafted dialogues that I showed you earlier, where he'd take historical figures and parody them in conversation with one another? Well, he used that technique in this special too, but oh boy, did he fall flat in his face. Sure, I'd had a couple of beers, but I seriously got lost at one point. Who is he talking about again? This is going on way too long. I even got secondhand embarrassment at one point because he waffled on about something that wasn't even remotely funny for what seemed like an eternity. His number one goal now in everything he does is just to be controversial and to offend people, and it's been building up for a while.
So your tweets, of course, people love them. You are one of the most unapologetic people on Twitter, which is great.
I'm sorry on the inside.
But it seems like at some points, and this is what I love, when you read the first few lines, it's like, is Ricky apologizing for something, or is Ricky like
Right.
showing some sympathy for these holy rollers or whoever it would be? And then at the end, you just f him in the ass with a little twist.
I think you mean the one where I said, if anyone's ever been offended by me, I'd like to say I'm so sorry for you being a humorless.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, see, he's not.
Yeah, they look at it like it's a nice little journey, and then there's waiting at the end, and like, oh.
He's gone too far with it, and now he's got it around the wrong way. It used to be about telling the jokes you want to tell because they're funny, and if along the way, incidentally, if you offend people, well, tough luck, it's just a joke. But now it's been flipped around. Now it's all about offending people, except they've forgotten the funny part.
But that's the kind of stuff, that's the intuition and weird things in language. Like, we just understand, there's no way to explain that on paper. Like, when you say to somebody, hey, sucker, we just understand what it means by where it's coming from.
Well, that's why it's so gross when people take things out of context and print them out as a written word, and then
it's like, of
write
course
a blog
that looks
about
bad.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's all about intent.
It's
All words
intent.
about intent.
Yes.
That's all it is. Otherwise, they're squiggles on paper. They're lines. They're
But
nothing.
people have
Without
taken
intent,
that away.
Of course,
And
it's
and
all context. If people get in the way and they've got their own little worries and foibles, and they can't see the wood for the trees. They can't see the
you're persecuted
the
now
target.
for something that
They
meant
know
nothing.
that, though. They're pretending.
They do, exactly.
They're
They do
pretending
know that.
that there's
Pretend
no
outrage,
subtlety in
of
language.
course.
Oh yeah,
Pretend
because
outrage.
people want a bit of controversy.
Oh geez, tickle me pink. Rogan has the subtlety of a moose in heat. But here we are, guys. We're at the end of 2023, about to tick over into a fresh new year, and this is the state of comedy. We're losing our best to this obsession with being either politically correct like Bill Burr, or the complete opposite like Chappelle and Ricky. And I love these guys. I'll always give them a chance. They earned my respect years ago. Nothing's going to change that. But if our only true hope now is Shane Gillis, as much as I love the guy, it's just not really good enough, right? Anyway, I hope this breakdown of Ricky Gervais wasn't too depressing for all of you. I just think we need to dig a little bit deeper. But I feel like I don't thank you guys enough for coming along on these rants with me and listening to my thoughts on the podcasting and comedy scene. So just know how much I appreciate you regulars who come back time and time again to watch all of my videos. I know this is going to sound kind of cringy, but I really don't care. I feel like I have a friend in every single one of you. So I won't be taking much time off. I'll be right back here in early January to pick up where I left off. Don't forget to let me know what you think about Ricky Gervais and the state of comedy in the comments below. And if you want to become a regular, hit that subscribe button so you get all my uploads right there in your feed. Thanks for joining me. Happy New Year, guys. I'll catch you on the flip side.
No, Australia ruled. I only had one negative experience while I was there, and it was I got bullied. I got made fun of publicly by a goth. They still have goths, dude. Full on black trench coat, black eyeliner, and he made fun of me. I'll give him credit in his defense. The reason he was making fun of me is because I was wearing a bucket hat. I had never done that before. There were no black people on the island. I was taking fashion chances the whole time. That's the thing about these countries. I was just in England, Scotland, Ireland, Australia. No black people. And I know what you're thinking. No. No, you need black people. You need black people to keep the whites in check. The last thing you want is a whole island of whites that think they're the coolest people on earth. It's a disaster. That's how you end up with Conor McGregor's walking around like, It's like, shut up, dude. The foreign whites are out of control.